What's up, guys? It is Rick again. Today we're talking all about wholesaling real estate for beginners, how not to waste your time. Now, I'm pretty much an expert on this. I promise you, if you're watching this video, I'm going to help point out things that do not serve you in wholesaling. And actually, you are just doing to fill voided areas in your life. And this is just a natural human tendency is when you get wildly uncomfortable and you're doing something that feels really odd, you're going to revert back and do things that make you feel comfortable. Menial tasks that will make you absolutely no money, but they're going to feed your ego and make you feel good. And it's going to hurt you in the long run. Now, the really key part is if you can identify these tasks that are going to self-sabotage you and catch your attention when you do it, amazing things can happen. And honestly, it took me about 5 years till I actually made a list of all the things that weren't serving me in wholesaling. And if somebody would have grabbed me from day one and say, hey, listen, don't do this, and this, you're literally going to make no money doing it, it probably would have saved me a year off my wholesaling career. But unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way, guys. Remember, I did wholesaling all by myself for 7 years. So those of you who don't know me or do know me, my name is Rick Ginn. I've been a wholesaler for 21 years. That's right, 21 years. There's not a lot of people that can say that. And I started back in early 2003 when nobody really gave good sound advice on how to do this. So we had to figure it out ourselves. A lot of you think, oh God, I would love to go back to that time. Trust me, you don't. It was brutally hard. We had no idea. We didn't know whether the mail to call. We didn't know what type of contracts to use. And honestly, it was scary. And then back then, nobody really had a mentality like to go for it, be an entrepreneur. Everybody wanted everything safe. So fast forward to today, whereas I will tell you in this video right here, exactly what you need to do, but you have more competition. You got more people doing it. Honestly, guys, there's 330 million Americans. There is plenty of opportunity. And if you don't think there's opportunity, it's only in your own mindset. So before we get into it, what we're going to do is take about 30-45 minutes and go through it. And I want you to just make a mental note of the things I tell you that I honestly believe you're wasting time. Actually, I know you're wasting time doing it. And this is recorded. Go back and do it. And you have to be honest with yourself. So I always say, until you can be accountable to yourself, it doesn't matter what business you do, you can't move forward in life. Notice I didn't say a coach isn't going to make you accountable or anything like that. In the end, you have to take inventory of yourself and decide if you're doing the right activities to move you forward. I can't tell you that stop doing stuff that's wasting your time. And the funny thing about this, we're talking particularly how it applies to wholesaling today, but the reality is this goes with anything you do with your life. Like, honestly, if you're spending time with a significant other, a wife, a husband, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, like, dude, cut the crap out. Just up your quality time with them. Ask quality questions, compliment people, help them out. Get out of the drama because it only serves your ego. It doesn't serve anything else. So why I love this channel, Rick Ginn, because I'm going to apply a lot of the stuff I teach you in wholesaling to your actual real life. You see, I've been married 27 years. I know a thing or two about marriage. And I'm here to tell you is everything gets better once you learn wholesaling, because all the principles you apply in wholesaling, you can easily apply in your personal life and you'll be blown away with the results that will happen. Not only do you get financial freedom and more freedom to do what you actually want to do in life, because life was never meant to be for you to be constrained behind a desk and be miserable. And unfortunately, I had a 14-year total sentence working for corporate America, 12 years under one company. And honestly, I finally had an epiphany, said, it can't get any worse than it is. Let me just go out and give this a shot. And I found wholesaling by complete accident, just like a lot of you guys watching this video. And I took the materials, which were really poor when I started, and I had to figure it out. It took me about 2 years to figure out the journey in total. And I took massive action and I never stopped. And to this date, that's all I do. And I've had some big failures in there, but I've had a lot more wins than failures. And that's what I want to press upon you. So the first thing we have to do, we have to stop wasting your time. However, the reality is, so if you truly want to understand how much time you're wasting in a day, just take a pen and pad or take your phone and voice record and just record the activities you do. Write it down. And guys, you're going to be blown away because I've done this exercise before. It's very eye-opening. You've got to start out by saying, what am I doing to wasting time? Here's the challenge is most of us have no idea which activities are actually wasteful in time because a lot of the activities you do it for a number of reasons. Number one is it makes you feel comfortable and you're familiar with it. That's why you do it. Doesn't mean it's good for you. Number two, the reason you do time wasting activities is you are doing it to avoid the most uncomfortable thing you want to do. So I remember when I was a lot younger, whenever, you're going to laugh about this, whenever I got stressed about something I would either clean something in the house or I'd go mow the lawn. Thank God I don't do any of those, either one of those two tasks. But why? Because my brain knew it knew exactly how to do it. As opposed to me go cold calling 200 people, it used to freak me out. And so instead of doing what I needed to do and be uncomfortable, I would go do something that was wildly comfortable, that was monotonous. I didn't have to think about it. And then towards the end, I started thinking about I really should be doing my marketing activity. And it got 10 times worse afterwards. And that's how it works. It's kind of like, you eat that filthy glazed donut. My God, are they good? Like a Krispy Kreme donut. You know what I'm talking about? It feels so good going in. And then you feel like crap an hour later. And then sometimes your stomach hurts. It ruins your dinner. This is the same thing with time wasting activity. So let's get into it. Now that you know you have to do it, you have to find, okay, how do I separate this? So let me give you a couple of sayings that'll help you out. If it's not money making, it just doesn't matter. Now, I'm just talking specifically about the wholesaling business, not just spending time with loved ones and all that. That has nothing to do with it. But when it comes to our wholesaling business, if it's not making you money, why are you doing it? The reason you're doing it is because it allows you to avoid that uncomfortable activity, which is going to lead to your ultimate change. And number two, it makes you feel comfortable. That's it. And once you understand that, if you actually do the uncomfortable thing and get through that and actually sit in the feeling of doing it, it will become the new comfortable. And then the old comfortable, you're going to consider that a time-wasting activity and you'll stop doing it. That is the simple fact of how you avoid time-wasting activity. So if it doesn't make you money in wholesaling, stop doing it. So how do I know how to do this? Let's walk through. We're going to play a little game here. And we are going to show you good activities versus bad, and you'll quickly identify it. So before we do it, you have to prioritize everything you do. Is this an income producing activity? End of story. So what I want you to do after this video, or you can do it while we're talking during the video, is you ask yourself every morning when you start out or every night when you're planning your day before, because that's what you should be doing wholesaling. Is this an income producing activity? And if you cannot answer definitively yes without an excuse, don't do it. It doesn't mean you're not going to do it. Say it's like paying bills or something like that. That has to be done. But there is no point in doing that during prime hours of your wholesaling business, especially from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. You have no business sitting and doing a lot of the stuff you do. So let's play a little game here. And we are going to talk about good activities versus bad activities. And what I would love to do, if you can put it in the comments, even if you're watching the video recorded, let me know in the comments. Give me examples, because I could probably go on 2 hours on this alone. But I want to keep this productive, and I want to get other people's feedback and do it in the comments in here. Put on, God, I love Krispy Kreme. Put on what you think are we all know the activities we should be doing it. I can go through a cold calling, SMS, driving for dollars, reverse driving for dollars, pulling lists, everything else. Give me the thing that makes you most comfortable when it makes you wildly uncomfortable, especially when it comes to wholesaling. And the more honest you are, the more we can talk about it. Because I've already told you, I used to do some wild, crazy things. And I'll share them with you. You guys share with me, and let's go through it. So what you want to do is prioritize your activities. So I'm going to give you examples. Let's start out with the stuff you need to do. And by the way, if you don't know what you need to do, just go over to freewholesaling.com. I promise you it is all spelled out there for you. There's no question at all. So activity number one, pulling lists and skip tracing. Income. I'm here to tell you, you cannot. The one activity you cannot spend enough time in wholesaling is building your lists. Why? Because number one, you've got to learn how to do it, and you have to become your own list ninja. What do I mean by that? I get geeked out in data when pulling it. Why? Because when I first started out, I didn't have a lot of money. The lists were brutally expensive. And if I got a list of 500-600 people, I had to get a deal out of it. I didn't want to deal with my wife and my family. Like, listen, I don't have enough money to pay the mortgage and everything because my lists suck. So what did I do? I studied lists like it was my life depended on it. And actually it did. And today, this has probably made me one of the best list builders out there. You see, I don't go ahead and chase trends like every other guru does. Check this out. Check this out. Check this out. The reality is when you do wholesaling every day, you know what works. So I don't need a consultant. I don't need a guru from another state. Try this, do this. I do what works in my business. How do I know it works? I actually do it. And if I just follow the numbers, remember, data doesn't lie to you. So just follow it. And it's going to lead you to the truth, which is going to be the profit. The better you build your list, the better you'll do. Let me give you an example. There was about a 6-7 year period in wholesaling, maybe 5 years, from 2013, 14 to about 2020. Some guru, I'm not going to mention names, but they all took up on it and goes, I have this secret list filter that is going to explode your business. And they all pounded me with it. I'm like, and you know what I said? I said, show me the data. Show me the data on why this works. Because here's the key. When you build lists, it's all data. So here's the categories, here's the numeric values, and here's the dates. And here's the area where geographic area pulled it from. To this date, nobody's ever proven to me that this technique works. You know what worked best about this technique? Selling you guys a bunch of garbage to buy people's other courses. That's why it came out. So it was known as the unknown equity filter. And what that means is when the data could not recognize a filter on like someone's type of deed house, like how long did they own the house? Was there a mortgage recorded? A lot of times there's old records. So if you're up in the Northeast, there's a lot more of them, and they would call it unknown. And some markets had as much as 10 to 15% of the data in this unknown filter. To this date, you can still go in. You can go into listrei.com. You can go in the batch. You can do them all. You can still click this unknown filter. I strongly believe that the unknown filter means exactly what it means. It's absolutely unknown. And why in the hell would I invest in an unknown piece of data to see if I'm going to do it? Now, I wasted time and money split testing this, meaning I ran the same list with and without the unknown. I made no more money. Actually, it came out worse. And I did it over and over again. And I challenged people. Tell me why you keep telling everybody to use this unknown equity filter. And they said it's the secret weapon. It wasn't. It was, in my opinion, I can't prove it. This is my opinion. It was made up to sell courses because to this date, nobody talks about it. Why? Because it didn't work. And the reason I'm giving you this example is you have to follow data. So once you start marketing, every time you market, you are going to get data. And sometimes you get some really great data and sometimes you get like not so great. But here's the reality is you learn from each one of them, and that is the information that makes your list better. So the reality, when you pull your first guest, your first list, you're guessing. Now, if you go over to freewholesaling.com, I'm going to give you the basic parameters to pull your list, 100% free. And then from there, I tell you, you got to watch your data and you have to adjust it. And every month you get better and better to the point. Honestly, after 2 years, I had my information so dialed in, I never worried about building a list. Now, to this date, I love lists. And anybody wants to like talk about lists, I'll do it all day long. What I'm telling you is list building is a high income producing activity, and it will always be that way. So if you have to spend 10 hours doing a list, go for it. You laugh at me, but I used to spend 4 or 5 hours building a list of 500 to 600 people. I swear to you. I used to love driving for dollars. I thought it was the greatest list in the world. And I just did it because that made sense back then. Nobody taught me how to do it. I just go, hey, let's drive for now. Let's find ugly houses. Now you can get a million courses on it. So I'm here to tell you, do not overlook pulling lists. Now, skip tracing, to be honest with you, it's a necessary activity. Is it an income producing activity? I don't know. And the more you have to ask yourself finite questions is, if you had to, you could easily outsource your skip tracing, which the reality is when you use listrei.com and you use batch, you are technically outsourcing it. You're just getting that data so you can make the calls. So I love pulling lists. That now, keep in mind, this includes driving for dollars, which is going to take time and energy. Huge, huge income producing activity. And number two, going and getting your government list. I spend a lot of time with you guys talking about these lists. I know they're a pain in the butt. This is why we call them earn list. You are not going to get them easily. You're going to get resistance. You're going to overcome it with persistence. And that's how we produce profit in wholesaling. Do the really hard stuff that nobody else wants to do, and magical things will happen with you. I'm here to tell you, guys, it works. So I can't stress this enough. Pulling lists is an income producing asset. A lot of people, I promise you can't spend enough time. In the beginning, you should be spending more time over less time pulling lists. I got to tell you, me, when I was buying lists, when I was absolutely broke, was probably a key fundamental of me being a successful wholesaler, because I could not take chances on lists. So honestly, if I had $300 to spend on a list, and that was a tiny list back then, every lead counted. I would go through a spreadsheet line by line by line by line. That's what I did. The most effective way, probably not, but it taught me to value every lead. Whereas now you can get 10,000 leads a month with listrei.com. And I still would give you the same advice. So if you only have, that's why the driving for dollars is such a valuable list, because it's so customized. You put in your time, your energy, your gas money in it, and you have a list. So if I had a list of 10,000 and I just pulled it off like PropStream, and you went and got 300 leads driving for dollars, and we both did the same area, your list is going to dominate my list, because now you have visual clues of potential problems on the property. And that's why your list is that much more valuable. So in the beginning, when you have limited resources, you have to learn how to be resourceful yourself. Resourcefulness over resources will dominate every wholesaling activity. Let me repeat that. Your ability to be resourceful over relying on resources that you paid for or that are even free is going to be a huge difference when you start out in wholesaling. You see, so many of us are used to people just giving us stuff or we pay for it. And the reality is you have to sometimes use your brain and be tremendously resourceful. So when you go get government lists, everybody knows on the stream that's watching it, that is the challenge. And you go, hey, Rick, this lady told me that I absolutely can't get that list. And here's what I say to every one of you. I go, so you got to quit? Are you done? Because this is where most people stop. Now, I'm going to teach you how to redirect, how to volley the ball back over and kill them with kindness and ask the question over in a different fashion. Do you know that's all lawyers do when they depose people? For someone who's been deposed before, how can a lawyer sit there and ask the same question 30 or 40 different ways? Why? Because they think with resourcefulness. Now, I'm not endorsing lawyers, but if you've ever had the privilege of working directly with a lawyer, they're a pain in the butt. Here's the difference with the lawyer, though. You have to sit in front of the lawyer if you get it in a deposition, which means you're forced to answer questions. When I'm dealing with a lady at the government office, the county office, she doesn't have to deal with you. She can kick you out and tell you to leave. And that's why you actually have to be more resourceful than most lawyers. You have to think about how to rephrase the question and how to get what you want. And I've always told you there's no guarantee in the end to it when you ask these questions. So resourcefulness of using what you have here, networking with people on live streams just like that truly want to see you win, that's how you get resourceful and really engage everybody you possibly can. Let me check questions while we're going here. Jay Series asks, can you give me some examples of the resourceful and how was it rewarded? Like, dude, I do this stuff all day. I'm telling you, one of the key distinguishing features of a successful wholesaler is resourcefulness. Let me give you an example. Eventually, you do wholesaling enough, you will have people ghost you. And if you don't know what ghosting is a technique sellers do to stall you, to delay the answer to you. They don't give you a yes. They don't give you a no. They tell you everything they want to hear, and then they just disappear like a ghost. We go like this. I can't find the seller. I can't do it. And you got a couple options. You can just give up and move on to the next lead. You always work future leads. Or you can decide to get resourceful. Couple simple ways to get resourceful, and then I'll show you some advanced ones. When you're calling the seller back and they see your cell phone, use another cell phone. Use your wife's, use your girlfriend's, use your boyfriend's. It doesn't matter. Change the phone number up. They almost answer it every time. Go on social media, DM them, do all sorts of stuff. You can find people. So if they want to outsmart you, you have to step it up. And here's the key is, you have to win them over when you connect them. You can't go, aha, I got you, because you're going to make them feel like lousy and vulnerable and frustrated. So when you find them, say you sucked them into a DM or tricked them, Go, hey, John, oh my God, I'm so glad. I was so worried about you. Hey, why I got you on the phone? And then you start talking about the deal. Hey, is everything all right? I want to make sure. And then usually at that point, when you catch them, they will reluctantly give you an answer and move forward and find out what's stalling it. So a more advanced one is I had a specific probate. We talked, I worked with the family, and we struck a deal and we signed a contract. And then the lawyer came back and said he didn't have the legal authority to enter into that contract. I have to wait for a court hearing on it. Seller goes, listen, Rick, I'm selling the house. I promise you, my word's good for it. I just got to follow the legal advice. I go, okay. So sometimes in probate, we have to pull back and let the legal work out. He didn't have the legal authority at the time because there was a question with another family member. So I had to be patient. Okay, guys, but patient wears thin. And you have to be patient, but you have to press forward. This is what resourcefulness is about. After about 5 months, he just disappeared. Wouldn't return any calls, wouldn't do anything. And I was getting frustrated. So what were my choices? He didn't answer. I sent letters. I did emails. I did text. I did a million phone calls. I did drive by the property. It was vacant and he lived out of town anyways. So you know what I did? I decided to play detective. I pulled up the actual probate court case, which you can do that in most states. Check with your local state laws. And then I found out, you ready for this? I found out they had a mandatory hearing coming up in 2 weeks. And he had to be there. So he actually had to drive. So he had like a 4-hour drive to be there. I kept trying to contact him at the point. I'm like, whatever. So I had a choice. I could just let it go, or I could take an incredibly risky action and see if I could meet up with him in person at the courthouse. So I found out what the court date is. And now here's the key is, you can't just go there and go, aha, I got you. Here's what I did. I knew which courtroom he was going to be in, what time he was going to be there. I verified he was going to be there with a lawyer. And I go, how am I going to do this? If I show up in the courtroom, if you've ever done a probate, usually there's no one there other than family and then court employees. So you standing in a probate case, sitting in the, I guess they call them the aisles, whatever it is, kind of like a pew like church. It's awkward. You do not want to do that. So I decided to hang out by the elevator, and then I rode the elevator up and down for 10 minutes waiting for it to come out. It came out with his lawyer. He hopped on there, and as soon as he got in there, so I never saw him face to face. We never did a FaceTime. I said, hey, John, is that you, John? And he turned around and I go, hey, it's me, Rick. Remember? We've talked multiple times on the phone about your aunt's house. And he just looked at me. And honestly, I didn't know if the guy was going to punch me in the mouth or what was going to happen. And he goes, you know what, Rick? I was waiting for this court hearing and I got exactly what I want. He goes to my lawyer. He goes, do you mind if I talk with him downstairs so I can finish out the contract? He goes, oh my God. He goes, it's like a miracle you showed up here. I was going to call and to go try to find you after this. I go, hey, listen, I was here pulling other probate cases, pulling foreclosures, and I saw it on the docket. I was actually just coming up to check on you. And that's it. I closed the deal. I did 90 grand on it. And honestly, I don't know if he would have called me if I didn't take that action. And that is an example of resourcefulness. A lot of us think we're powerless and we can't do anything. A great wholesaler will rise above and find ways to do it themselves. All I had to do was look up an online court case. So a lot of you guys tracking the foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, all the dates on the docket are in the case. They're all public record. Anyone can pull it up. You can pull up files. You can pull up everybody who's associated with the case. Probate, a little bit trickier, but you can get help with your title company, with your title company. You can get it with a probate lawyer, a real estate lawyer. But you have to take the action. So many people expect everything to be done for them, and you just have to figure out. And I like that part of wholesaling because you're half social worker. Let's face it, you got to talk a lot of people through with things. You're half psychologist. You're a huge PI. You have to dig up a lot of information, and you've got to take action on some of your instincts. And sometimes you're just dead wrong. Trust me. I've had these things go the opposite way. I've had people take a flying leap. It is what it is. So as many times as I've had success, I've had failures too. But if you win more than you lose, it works out really well. So hopefully that kind of gives you an example. I got to be honest with you. I was wildly uncomfortable doing this. Exceptionally uncomfortable, sweating. I didn't know if it was the right choice. I just took a chance. Now, was I physically going to get hurt? No. I'm in a courthouse. There's officers there. Guy's not going to hit me or anything. Just you have to take chances like this, guys. This is a metaphor of how life works. If you're not going to bet on yourself, who the hell is going to bet on you? So I'm tired of, stop relying on other people to do stuff for you. I'm giving examples. Great question though. I love that stuff. Okay, let's finish up here so we can help out with some questions online. So you know how I feel about pulling lists, and you've got to understand that. Let's do that. Marketing to sellers, without question. If you're going to cold call, SMS, physically door knock, whatever you're going to do, you can't do enough of it. And honestly, that is the highest income producing activity you can humanly possibly do. The more interactions you have with humans, the better you're going to do. But you need that list so you can be organized and point in the right direction where you're going to find motivated sellers. Now, be careful and don't let some guru or someone point you, go, hey, just hop on an MLS. You know nothing about real estate. You know very little about wholesaling, but all the properties are out there and 95% of all the transactions go through there. Statistically, they are correct. The reality is it will be the most painful journey in your life. It's hard. Guys, we do MLS in our company and it's painful. I only do it with licensed realtors and that's all they do. And I get frustrated with the outcomes they have. And I'm talking about people in the business 20 years. Why would you start out doing that technique? Oh, it sounded really cool. You know, coffee is not hot. Okay. So marketing sellers without any type of marketing to the sellers, thumbs up. It's what works. Keep doing it. The more uncomfortable you get it, the closer you are to finding the goal. And honestly, that wildly uncomfortable will turn to uncomfortable, will turn to comfortable. Like right now, if I don't do things that produce income producing activities, I get uncomfortable. It used to be the complete opposite when I started out wholesaling. And that's what you have to understand. It only takes about 30 days to change your brain patterns on what like works. The next one, which is just a given, just making offers. So making offers is just following up on either a verbal or a conversation or a text or whatever you had. You have to make offers because everybody wants to buy something, but like making an offer is what separates people that talk about it and actually do it. And understanding you have to make a lot of offers because only a few of them stick. So the reality is if you make no offers, nothing will stick. It means you never took a chance on anything. And keep in mind, when I talk about wholesaling, when I say take a chance, you're not taking a chance. Like when you write a contract on a deal, you should know it's making you money. The taking a chance is actually doing something and stop talking about wholesaling and actually take action to make it turn into profit. So when we talk about wholesaling, if you do it right and you understand the mechanics of it, like freewholesaling.com, it works really well. Now, I'm going to talk about the stuff that a lot of you guys are doing and you're not being honest with yourself about it, and you have to understand how this works. So let's talk about this. So you already know pulling lists, marketing activities, and making offers is what you need to do. And honestly, if I could just keep everybody in that tight little bubble, everyone would be a successful wholesaler. Now, you all have different markets, you have different budgets, and you have different experience levels. Some will get it in a couple of days, some will take a couple of years. The difference is you have to find a way to move forward with it. But if you all did that, I probably wouldn't be shooting this video. It's just the truth of the matter. Here's what we have to deal with. I'm going to talk about what broke wholesalers do. And if this sticks at home and it hurts you a little bit, then kind of good, because you can fix it. So the only way to fix a problem is identify what the source of the problem is and then come up with a solution to fix it. And then the hardest part of it all is actually take action so you stop repeating that mistake. The mistake of doing things that make you absolutely no money. Time wasting activities. Let's go through it. I could go all day on this crap, guys. I'm telling you right now, this gets a little bit painful. So this is probably one of my biggest pet peeves in wholesaling. The wholesaler that tries to make the perfect offer. How do I know you're trying to make the perfect offer? Because you keep reaching out to me. You spend hours doing the comp. This is what a broke wholesaler does. The reason you spend 2 hours doing a comp is you're trying to justify the unrealistic price you're making on that piece of property. You should spend 10 minutes or less on comping. Comping will not make you money. It doesn't mean you shouldn't understand it. You have to understand it. Otherwise, if you don't make the right offer, you're literally wasting your time. But when you constantly spend time comping, you know who comps in real estate? Realtors do. That's their job. They have to come up with the most accurate comp possible. Wholesalers, we don't do comps. We are looking to buy well below the comp, so stop struggling with comps. It is a human waste of your time. I find people spend more time comping because they don't want to do the necessary activity of buying the home at the right price. So they offer a higher price because they think their seller is not going to take the lower one. So they will spend 2 hours. I've seen people spend 2 weeks trying to write the perfect comp. Realtors, when you want to make an offer on a property, they sit there and analyze comps for hours on end. And then they try to write an offer where they can get a one-off, which is a yes. In wholesaling, it's completely different. And if you don't understand this concept, you're going to constantly waste time. Stop wasting time. If you spend more than 10 minutes comping, you've screwed up. I'm sorry. It means you're paying way too much for the property. Remember, a comp is still an educated guess because the ultimate comp is what your cash buyers will pay for the property. And that's where wholesalers spend their time. We don't spend time analyzing over analyzing. The only thing, my pet peeve on the internet right now is there's too many tools for comping. It's outrageous between paid and free services. Honestly, it overwhelms you. When I first started this business, I went to a realtor to get a comp. That was it. And actually, I kind of enjoy it. I wish we'd go back those days because they spit out a comp and I just bought the property well below it. That's it. That's all you got to understand in this business. Comping is a real estate agent thing. It is not a wholesaler thing. It doesn't mean you shouldn't understand the comps, but comps are always a range. There's a low and a high. So when people spend a ton of time on it, I never understand it. I'm like, do you want to be a wholesaler or do you want to be a real estate agent? Ask yourself that question honestly. It will guide you to the answer. So huge time. Guys, I'm just telling you 10 minutes or less on a comp. Otherwise, you're trying to force the comp to justify your higher number because you're scared of getting rejected from the seller. The reality is, even if you write the wrong price, you can always change it. But over offering on a house is a recipe for a disaster on wholesaling, and that's not what you want to do. Now, here's a good one. Listen, if it rings home, be brutally honest with yourself and go, okay, let me fix it. If you don't understand it's an income producing activity or it's not, that is the part of your problem. And that's why you're stuck. And that's why you're getting no results in wholesaling. Let's move on to the next one. Ready? Let's see. Read it and weep. If you're spending endless hours on developing your logo, my favorite is when someone goes, they put on the internet, I have 3 variations of logo. Which one do you like? Your sellers don't care. Let me repeat. Your sellers don't care about your logo. They don't care about the colors. Guys, go look at Apple. It's a simple apple in one color. Hundreds of billions of dollars. So if logos were that important, why is Apple so successful with it? The logo never makes a company. Is it kind of neat? Honestly, I'm just going to hear and tell you, logos feed your ego. I've never seen people spend so much time doing logos. I've seen people spend $5,000, $10,000 developing logos. Now, the reality is the logo is not going to make a difference on your wholesaling success. Here's what it will do. It will take away from your wholesaling because it is a huge time-wasting activity. And honestly, I'm okay. You do it. Ready for this? Here's a bold statement. You do not need a logo for wholesaling. Rick Ginn, I buy houses. Boom, done. Move on. The next one on there I put on there is setting up your LLC. Now, setting up the LLC will not make you money, but it'll keep you out of trouble in the long run. So it is not a high priority when you start out wholesaling. You can buy a property, you can put your name on it, and you can close on it and get an assignment fee. It's not the end of the world. People go way out of control in this. Owning a property and renting it, different world. So in wholesaling, the reality is why you prefer to do it like an LLC or corporation, whatever you want to do. LLC is technically a corporation, is you don't want the legal liability if something goes wrong with the contract. And that's the main purpose of it. It's not the end of the world. I bought properties in my own name when I first started. It wasn't the end of the world. And worst case scenario, you could put a property under contract. You got a motivated seller because you're focusing on income producing activities. Check this out. As long as you have an assignable contract, you can open up an LLC the day before you're closing and have the contract assigned to you. And then you could assign it to your cash buyer. And that's perfectly fine. So many people think everything has to be perfect before you start. It doesn't. The key is you have to start. And what we do for time wasting activities is we do these foolish things like spend weeks setting up logos and trying to find a perfect bookkeeper. You don't need a bookkeeper in the beginning. You're making no money. The reality is you can go a year or two before you even consider that. Honestly, I went 4 or 5 years without it. That was reckless. It was stupid. But I know how to make money. But if you're going to constantly do all the stuff like a perfect corporation and you're not going to do the income producing activities, you're wasting your time. You're going to go out of business. So setting up your LLC, let me clarify. I'm not giving you legal advice. But the reality is it is not a requirement before you start wholesaling, regardless of what people tell you. And for God's sakes, guys, stop taking advice over the internet from people you have no idea what their qualifications are. You know what my qualification for taking advice from somebody in wholesaling? How many deals you're working on now? How many you've done in total? And how active are you as a wholesaler? And how good are you at your business? That's all I care about. I don't care about your education level. I could care less about your age. Just want to find people who are doing it. I will hyper tune into a 16, 17-year-old kid that is doing amazing results, like a child. That's how I am. Because wholesaling doesn't care how old you are. They definitely don't give a crap about your education level. They care about the people that are the most resourceful. And they're the ones that typically rise to the top in wholesaling. So, guys, clarification on the LLCs, you don't need it up front. I prefer you have one, but it's not complicated. And when it comes to the name of the LLC, don't even start me on that one. The only thing I tell you is don't do like Rick Ginn LLC. That's so realtors do that because that's what they're told to do. And they never question it. I think it's a terrible idea, but I'm not here to get into realtor arguments. I've done that before, and I rarely win. So you guys understand the last two activities I showed you are the pitfalls of what we're doing, and I want you to absolutely understand that. So the more you understand that, the better you can do this. Now, let's bring back a good one. Talking to cash buyers and building your cash buyers list. Now, a lot of you are thinking like, oh my God, that's questionable. I'm not sure if that's the one I want. You're going to have to do this. This is a yes. Because if you get a great deal and you can't find a cash buyer because you didn't take the time to go out and harvest cash buyers and actually vet them, it could cost you a lot of money. Now, you should only be spending a third of your time of what you do on marketing and your list building and acquisitions. But the reality is you have to do this part. So many of you guys skip this part. It's still important because if you don't do it, it's not going to work. So now I'm going to poke at a few of these. I'm going to get through this because I'm going to get on these lives with you guys. Talking to Sheila, your mom's friend who's never who hasn't listed a house in 3 years and it's networking, that's broke wholesaler stuff. So many of you guys think you need to meet with realtors. It's like you're like, I got to meet with a realtor because it's income producing. It's not. If realtors don't work with wholesalers, they don't know what you do, and they don't even list houses. They list like 1 or 2 houses a year. You're literally wasting your time. My next one, stop searching for the easy button in wholesaling. Just go over to freewholesaling.com. I'm telling you, there is no easy button. There is no shortcut in wholesaling. This is how you guys get sold so much crap. There is no easy button. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. This is why gurus and coaches are making millions of dollars because they keep selling you the easy button. Hey, MLS, here's the price. Here's the seller's phone number. Here's pictures. It's super... All the data you want, you just need it. It's just a numbers game. You need to get through it. It rarely works out for somebody starting out on MLS. Oh, novations. You can do wholesaling without actually buying the property, and you can sell them to retail buyers, so it doesn't even matter what you buy it for. It's so simple. You just need to do a power of attorney, a fake contract. Oh, and you got to sign this, and this. Oh, and then you got to record a $100,000 lien. All the states are cracking down on it. The title companies don't want it anymore. Guys, every time they create a loophole, it gets closed. I've been through this so many times in 20 plus years. There is no shortcut to wholesaling. Stop by. If it sounds too good to be true, start raising your hand and go, what's the catch? If you ever look deep into a novation, there is a ton of catches on it. I've done novations. I have a lot of experience doing it. I do novations because they naturally and organically occur. If you go out as a beginner and try to chase down novations and try to record legal documents that you have no clue on what to do and you don't involve an attorney, you are opening yourself up for a nightmare of lawsuits. I've been involved in a lot of lawsuits. And most of the time, the lawsuits I got involved in is because I didn't know what I was doing. So if you don't understand novations and you go, no, the guru explained it to me perfectly, take that same paperwork and sit down with a lawyer. And I promise you the conversation will be over before it even started. Now, can novations work? In the right hands, they can. But I think it's dangerous to go out and wreck. And it's being sold to you guys now as a shortcut to wholesaling. Here's another one. I love creative financing, one of my favorite ways. And I love anyone who does creative financing. And honestly, I think more creative financing is helpful. The reality, though, is it's being sold as, why do you even deal with wholesaling? Just do creative financing. The reality is a lot of creative financing deals, the way it's being taught, a success is when you put a property under contract and do a creative financing. That doesn't mean you make any money. A lot of creative financing being taught right now, people are laying out money and then they go, it's not your money, just go borrow this guy's money. And the reality is you have to make money eventually in creative financing. If you can't make money up front in creative financing and you're broke, why are you doing it? You're going to come back 5-7 years to harvest a profit? That's a long time. And there's a lot of what ifs in there. So I love creative financing. Is it a shortcut to wholesaling? No. Is it a byproduct of wholesaling? Absolutely yes. And I love creative financing. Why wouldn't you? If a seller would give you terms, a subject to or into that, how am I to knock it? I think it's awesome. And I found how to do creative financing by being exposed to as many wholesaling deals as humanly possible, and then being resourceful on how can I help the seller out and make it a win-win for everybody involved without breaking any laws. And that's it. If you can answer that question, that's great. It is not a shortcut to wholesaling. If you can't make money up front on a creative financing deal and you're brand new, like, you can get yourself in trouble real quick. Back in 2008, I had to give back 7 creative financing deals I did because I did not know the worst case could happen in it. And it did to me. And I learned a lot from it. I'm not scared to do it anymore. But the reality is creative financing works. Is it a substitute for wholesaling? Absolutely not. They're two completely different worlds, and they often collide together. And if you know how to do the fundamentals of wholesaling, creative financing will come naturally by exposure to the deals. And honestly, you'll network with a ton of people that'll show you how to do this and that. I have met so many people. The best way to learn creative financing is just networking with people. It really is. And I learn something new every time, especially in commercial, because it's like there's a lot of variables when it comes to financing in commercial, because there's a lot of creative financing in commercial. And I learned the basics from wholesaling. So a lot of people go, I'm just going to jump into creative financing because I don't have to deal with wholesaling. You're never going to be as sharp as a wholesaler. I'm sorry. A wholesaler, like when you talk to a wholesaler, you know it. Like, it just resonates in them. And if a person can master wholesaling, creative financing, it's fun. And everything else you add on it, commercial's fun. Short sales are fun. Everything. Fix and flips, which is not the greatest one. I've never subscribed to the Burr method. I've always used the Burr method in commercial because that's what it's really designed for. Single family homes, as you do the Burr method, it only works in certain types of markets. Nobody's selling the Burr method. It just disappeared. Why? Because the interest rates are high. So there's no easy button, guys. I'm here to tell you, the MLS done for you system where there's thousands and thousands of sellers, you just need 5 or 6 deals. No shortcut there. Actually, to me, you're going to regress doing that. So I would never do that. So listen, I'm going to be my own hypocrite. You're watching this video. Are you wasting time or not? The reality is, if you're learning and trying to move forward, I'm never going to fault you for watching it. But like, I'm guilty of watching too many videos as well, just like you are. So make sure you find videos that associate with income producing activities, please, because God knows we got too many videos. And you're talking about a guy who shoots videos, but I'm just self-poking at myself. So let's get that off there because that one kind of hurts. I get it. Listen, the reality is income producing activity is networking, taking action. Like just working in this live stream here, I can tell if you take action or not. If you participate or not, that's what it comes down. And here's, last but not least, being scared of lowballing. Oh my God. Stop it, guys. So when you get down to it, you got your comps and everything, you got your seller, you need to go for the no. And the reason most of you don't do it, because you're scared. And I get it. Why? Because it's wildly uncomfortable. You're freaking me out, Rick. I'm sweating beads. Stop trying to have ESP of what your seller is, because your seller already has a number in mind. If you're trying to guess that number, stop it. Go get a no, get a rejection, and get a counter so you can get to a deal quicker. You trying to meet their offer like right below it, you're just pissing them off. And actually, they raise their price on you. So by making an offer here, when they're here, you basically pull back what they actually want to get for the property. And at the end, you find the price point that is a win-win for everybody involved. Remember, you will never force someone to sell your house. The reality is you just have to qualify them and you have to walk them down the funnel. And if you're a good fit, then it's great. So be it. But this is not being a realtor. Realtors try to sell everybody on the listing. How? By getting the most dollar. The percentage of realtors that list properties that sell at the list price or above is far and few between. So if realtors are overshooting the list, why are you trying to meet these prices? The reality is it makes you wildly uncomfortable. And so are you okay making a couple $1,000s or do you want to make 10 or 20 grand? You're never going to make it if you don't ask for it. Remember, people are seeking you to buy their properties to help them out. It's up to you to make that difference. So, and last, I'll wrap it up here, I promise. Doing what is necessary for success is what income producing activities is. If you get scared and you want to stay in that uncomfortable and you're going to do stuff you're very familiar with, you're just going to constantly keep doing things that make you no money. and you're never going to move forward. So all I want you to do is learn to identify how to do this stuff, and it'll make a tremendous difference. So that is my rant on income producing activities.